You're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network. Visit bpn.fm to discover more.
Hello, I'm Jesse McAnally.
And I am Andrew DeWolf.
And I'm Liz Eston.
And ladies and gentlemen, whether you like it or not, it's Musicals with Cheese, a podcast where I try to get Andrew and Liz to like musical theater.
Jess is going to be attempting an Eastern European accent this entire time.
The whole time.
It's gonna be miserable, everyone. You should just bail out now. Just get out of here. You thought Paul Giamatti was bad?
Paul Giamatti was literally here. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Andrew, we met Paul Giamatti, remember?
Your Bryan Cranston was not very good, I'll say that.
Your Bryan was fine.
I did not have a Bryan Cranston ready. I was just lucky enough to have a kind of Paul Giamatti. It's not like we prepped
Paul
these.
Was here. What are you saying?
What? Wait, so you already had a Paul Giamatti? That's what you're trying to say?
Yes.
That was just, you had that prepared. Why did you have that prepared?
Yeah, why'd you prepare a Paul Giamatti impression?
I don't know why I have that prepared.
Like, did you practice in the mirror?
Like in a mirror?
Yeah, I guess. I don't have my Hedwig accent.
I mean, you're doing okay. You're not doing, like, terrible.
Ladies and gentlemen, you fine, lovely human beings out there, in case you haven't noticed, we have already covered this show. Kind of.
It was a long time ago.
It was episode 30. We have now done 10 times more episodes since then, more or less. We were a different show. Yeah, it is. That was a very long time ago. I don't know if we have different opinions on the show, but I do want to revisit it, especially because we were newer podcasters back then. We didn't quite know what we were doing, and now we kind of have, strangely, a more respected face in the theater industry. I hate saying that because it sounds so pretentious, and I feel uncomfortable with the way we left that episode, in a way. Not that I think we said anything issue or problematic-wise. I just feel like there's better discussions to be had, and I had only ever shown Andrew the film version. And him watching the film version and him watching the stage show, very different experiences, I think you'll agree, Andrew.
Yeah, I think the stage show is a completely different thing than the movie. I haven't seen the movie in a while, and I did not rewatch it for this, but
we're just as good as we were then.
From what I remember from it, it is not at all similar to how the stage show is played.
The thing is, it is very similar. Like, almost every word of dialogue in the stage show makes it into the movie. It's just the form it is presented is different.
Which changes a lot, though. Like, it changes, like, everything.
Like, in its own way, I think the film is the perfect film, and the stage show is the perfect stage show, and that is rare. But in case you haven't picked up what we were throwing down, this week we are talking about John Cameron Mitchell's Hedwig and the Angry Inch. Can I retry that again? Can I get another try at that?
Yeah, go ahead.
In case you haven't picked up what we were throwing down, this week we are talking about John Cameron Mitchell's Hedwig and the Angry Inch. Cue the music.
6 inches forward, 5 inches back. I got an angry inch. 6 inches forward, 5 inches back. I got an angry inch. I'm from the land where you still hear the cries. I had to get out, had to sever all ties. I changed my name and assumed a disguise. I got an angry inch. 6 inches forward, 5 inches back. I got an angry inch. 6 inches forward, 5 inches back. I got an angry inch.
Hedwig and the Angry Inch is a musical written by John Cameron Mitchell with music and lyrics by Stephen Trask. The musical opened off-Broadway in 1998 and won the Obie Award, the Outer Critics Circle Award for Best Off-Broadway Musical, and it ran for 2 years and was remounted with various casts by the original creative team and other U.S. cities. There was a film adaptation as well in 2014. The show saw its first Broadway incarnation, opening that April at the Belasco Theater, starring Neil Patrick Harris and Lena Hall. And that was a very, very successful run. And the plot of Hedwig and the Angry Inch is indie rock musical about fictional rock and roll band The Angry Inch, fronted by Hedwig, an East German transgender singer. I would argue not transgender, but that is what they have on Playbill. I'm pretty sure John Cameron Mitchell would also argue that too. So let's talk about this show. Andrew, you had seen the movie. We'd kind of gone over your different take. Liz, you had not seen anything aside from a few different songs from it. What is your interpretation of the stage show?
It's hard. It's really interesting. It's like a story that's hard to pin down initially when you're first hearing about it. I knew about the plot of Hedwig, but seeing this version of it, I think it's very much. I enjoyed a lot of the storytelling, how they approached it, and how it was just a talk, basically a borderline musical TED talk of just about someone's life. But I don't know. It's a really interesting way to approach a story like this, and I think it's done well. I think that's probably the best way to put it. But there's a lot happening
and
here,
a lot of things
you can think about
that are topical and changed and metaphorical. This is one of the rare musicals that plays a lot with metaphor and synecdoche and things representing things and not being extremely literal while also sometimes being extremely literal. And thankfully, Apple Podcast has introduced a new feature where they automatically transcribe every episode of your podcast. So I got to read our original episode, and I would say most of our discussion, Andrew, is just you being confused about the whole Tommy Gnosis thing.
What was I confused about? Because honestly, I think I understand it completely watching the show. I think.
Okay. Your interpretation then was, why is Hedwig Tommy? I don't get it. Why are they representative of the same people? Is Tommy what? They should be different people. I am very confused by this. No, the show shows them as different people, and I don't like that.
Oh, well, I guess my interpretation is that they are different people then. My bad. My current interpretation is they are not the same person.
And my argument was, in the extended metaphor that is the origin of love, they are two halves of the same person per Plato's Symposium, which is, we were all used to be two people glued up back to back, and that was what human beings are. And then we were punished and split back into different individuals and were trying to come back together, which is why they are played by the same person. They were both halves of the same being, which is why we have those two halves coming together at the end, specifically.
But so doesn't the film make the argument that Hedwig's other half is themselves?
The film plays it a little differently, but I feel like it's also very confusing. It's much more confusing in the film and much less literal, which is different. Whereas the stage show, Hedwig and Tommy are the same actor portrayed by the same person, and in the end, I think the representation is they have become one and are performing Midnight Radio as a complete person for the first time. But there are a lot of interpretations there. Andrew, what is your impression of Tommy Gnosis in this one?
Honestly, I see the story as more straightforward. I don't.
Okay.
I feel like it's very much just it's there. Obviously, Hedwig likes a lot of metaphor and a lot of very philosophical notions and everything, but I think the story as it exists is what happens and what we see. And Tommy Gnosis is just a different person, and we see him accept Hedwig and perform a song at the end.
So Hedwig, in your opinion, has no relevance in that last song, Midnight Radio or the Wicked Little Town reprise.
She does, but only in the sense that Tommy is performing it for her. Okay, that's an interesting take, and I've not heard that one, and I have nothing to refute that with. Now, Andrew, the plot of Hedwig and the Angry Inch and how you feel like it differs from the film. Okay, so I think it differs from the film in that we don't necessarily see any of the events that take place, except for the ending, I would argue. Other than the very end, we don't see events that take place. It's actually just a concert that we are attending being performed by
the Angry Inch, which is the band that we're watching. And Hedwig is telling us things that happened that relate to the songs that they're going to perform, and it's kind of told in order, in like a way that makes sense and leads up to the ending. As far as like what we're being told, the story is that Hedwig grew up in is it
East Berlin?
East Germany, East Berlin specifically, and is kind of in just a bad position. Obviously, the living in East Berlin, not a great place to be. So they want that he wants out, and well, is it he or is she?
See, this is where it gets confusing. So
they want out.
Yeah.
They are eventually approached by a American GI who is a. I mean, can I just say this? Can I just come out and say
it?
Who is a pedophile, and a groomer, literal, actual groomer, real, yes, who wants to marry Hedwig, who at that time was named Hansel.
Yeah.
Hedwig is the mother's name, their mother's name. The GI won't leave for America with Hansel unless Hedwig, unless there's a marriage, and in order to get married, there needs to be a sex change. So they get a sex change, and it is botched, and they don't have genitals anymore, at all.
A 1-inch mound, which thus birthed the name the Angry Inch.
Yes.
Yes. Like a Barbie doll.
Yes.
Now then the GI leaves.
Yeah, they abandon Hedwig, and then Hedwig continues the cycle of abuse, kind of. Like, do you follow that too? Because that was something that didn't really read to me in previous watches, but this time really latched on for me. Because you brought up that Luther basically was a predator grooming Hansel, forced then to become Hedwig. And then Hedwig kind of does the same to Tommy.
In a sense, although I guess in the show you don't see an age gap between the two in any real way.
They said that Tommy was a teenage boy, and Hedwig
the issue
was their
is
babysitter.
Yeah.
The issue is that we see both Tommy and Hedwig, and they're portrayed by the same actor. So it's
that makes it a little easier to swallow. But
and the timeline is a little unclear how long this goes on. So if he turns 18 or something by the time things get physical,
though, I mean,
which still wrong. But it's like
if it started when they were
young, it's still grooming. 100%.
Well, the way that it starts with is Hedwig giving Tommy a hand job in the bathtub. So. That's how it starts.
That is grooming then. Yeah, I forgot about that part. Yep. That is grooming. Yep.
Yeah, no, there's some fucked up shit going on here, which is, that's fine. You can do fucked up shit if you want to. This is an edgy show.
It's not trying to. This show is not trying to be like, well, this is a moral for all you kids at home to represent and feel good about.
No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
The show's just.
It's not.
Who don't cares?
I think the show is almost explicitly trying to say it's not good, or not. Maybe say nothing about it and just leave it to your interpretation. Although I feel like everyone's interpretation is going to be that it's not good. And then Hedwig gets to America somehow, right?
Through the marriage,
Luther takes Hedwig to America.
Oh, okay. You know what? Honestly, I kind of missed that. I thought that Luther just left. I didn't realize
Hedwig and Luther got married, moved to America in a trailer park, and then Luther left them for a new person that he met at church.
About a year later, so he strung him along. Luther strung along Hedwig for like a year.
Okay. No, fair enough.
There's a great line in the 2014 revival where Hedwig says, "And then he left me for some girly boy that he met on ChristianMingle.com or whatever they called it back then. Church." That's a good. There's 1,000 good lines in the stage show.
This is the weird Hurt Locker musical running gag that doesn't make any sense with the timeline.
We found sanctuary in the Hurt Locker, a spot of safety on the roads. Love can be scary in the Hurt Locker. It's tender and it's raw. We're filled with shock and awe, and we will be consumed when love explodes. We will be consumed when love explodes.
But
it depends, because
there's no time.
We'll get back to that.
We'll get to that.
The Hurt Locker musical thing is a reference to the show that we're currently watching.
Yes,
they're trying to say that Broadway Hurt Locker the musical was like on stage next to us or something.
No, it was the same stage, and it closed the same day that it opened. So then they got to play.
Yes,
on
that's
that
the only
stage
reason why they're performing. And when you go see the show live, like on the floor all over our playbills for Hurt Locker the musical, like they really lean into that. And that's why the stage looks the way it does and all that.
Damn, honestly, I think I'd like to watch Hurt Locker the musical.
Honestly, same.
We do get to hear one song from it, which is Goofy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the love when love explodes.
Tommy and Hedwig are in love, sort of, kind of, not really,
and creatively working together.
Definitely creatively working together. They want to have sex, and the Angry Inch gets in the way. Tommy gets scared, books it out of there. And then you just kind of work your way out to the end where Tommy is a big star that goes by Tommy Gnosis, which is it's like Hedwig's like, I created Tommy and Tommy's ungrateful and left me and blah blah blah. But then
and stole all my music.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that Coco movie.
No,
not
it's
the
like
Book of
Coco.
Life. It's like Coco.
Ernesto or whatever stole the
Ernesto de la Cruz.
Yeah. Remember me.
But Tommy is performing a big show that's taking place at the same time as the show that we're currently watching. So it's present day.
And Hedwig has been following them on their tour.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Tommy got into a car accident and hit a bus. And now he's on a redemption tour.
Tommy basically apologizes during his big show to Hedwig, and kind of it's implied they're going to get back together and blah blah blah, or they do get back together or something of that nature. And then he performs the song that he's been trying to write the entire time. And I guess Hedwig also performs that song, is Jess's interpretation. They're performing together as one.
I mean, if you break down what Tommy's quote-unquote apology is, it's basically like God doesn't exist, find your own way in life, and Midnight Radio is Hedwig deciding that their way of life is rock and roll, in my interpretation.
There's a lot going on here, and I don't think that it's fair to try to assign one message or moral to this show, because it doesn't make any fucking sense if you try to do that.
Yeah,
it's very punk rock in multiple ways, and that's something that I can both appreciate and something I also don't love, but you know.
You brought that up in our previous episode too, how much you were like, this is punk rock, I just wish it weren't about this, and I hate punk rock.
Yeah, punk rock is like, all right, there's some decent music in here. I think what I don't like as far as the subject matter goes, I feel as though there's some really dark shit in here that doesn't get any real payoff and is just kind of there. And I don't feel like it needs to be, but
I think
it's punk rock. It's like supposed to try to shock you, I think, in a way. So,
well, you also, forgive me if I'm putting words into your mouth that you don't want, but you said almost it feels like a conservative's like impression of what trans people are. And this is not a trans story, but you brought this up.
I brought this up to you in a chat after I watched it, and I don't think it's fair to assign it to this show, though.
No.
I don't think this is not a criticism I would assign to this show, because this show existed well before any of this sort of discourse was going on. But I think it's fair to bring it up now, not as a criticism of the show, but just as a, like, maybe think about this, I guess.
Yeah.
This show literally has the conservative, you know, conservatives love to say trans people are children that are groomed into becoming trans by their teachers and parents and communities and whatever doctors. That literally happens in this show.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen in real life, really, though.
No, not at all.
But, and yes, but this is not a trans story.
No.
In fact, John Cameron Mitchell.
I would actually agree with that as well.
Yeah, I was also saying Mitchell said Hedwig's not trans.
Yes. Cameron Mitchell, who is non-binary, so is the composer Stephen Trask. They are both non-binary trans individuals. Spoke on the transness of Hedwig and theme, saying, I think it's a story of trauma and recreating yourself after the trauma. In this case, the trauma wasn't really a trans choice of finding yourself and defining yourself, because the character was raped and mutilated and forced into a gender reassignment surgery against their will, which is not exactly a trans fairy tale. It's more like someone having a forced medical procedure from a communist government. It's almost like a circumcision against their will. But then the real transformation comes out of when the music comes in the writing, the band, the wig, the makeup, the Hedwig persona, which is built after the trauma. Everyone can relate to reinvention, to self-definition, to finding out who you are, and letting go of society's rules about gender. Hedwig is forced into something by what I call a binarchy, which comes out of patriarchy. To be a man, you have to do this. To be a woman, you have to do that. To be free, you have to be one or the other. And so I don't think of it as any way as a trans statement. It's a survivor statement. It definitely talks about androgyny as a kind of wholeness. And we all have male and female energies. Society defines them differently, but we have all those energies in us. All of us. And the binarchy requires you can define yourself as one or the other. And some more courageous people are saying, no, I myself, I'm a gender of one, I'm non-binary. So I agree with that. I think that's a bold statement. And they made that statement in 2021, which is very different from statements made previously, where I rewatched a lot of interviews from when the film was at basically independent film festivals. And it's very much like a gay man story. Is like that was how the world around us was interpreting that at the time, which is strange and interesting.
There's a lot of these stories that are like attached to trans, like the concept of trans, that aren't really trans stories. And I think another example that just immediately comes to my head is Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Mm-hmm.
So like this is like a weird. It's a strange case. I don't think it's intended to be a trans story. I think that some people probably interpret it as one now, because it's a much more common topic. But I don't think it's supposed to be. So,
no. But also, it has its roots in gender, like by the nature of this story.
Of course,
it does. But I sense a much deeper connection to drag culture, and that's where John Cameron Mitchell started this. Like, it is a drag show with an even de-wigging by the end, which is a very big part of drag culture, and removing all the things that make you. But then comes the question of actors. Like, we've had pretty high-profile actors play Hedwig in the past. Michael Cerveris, Andrew Rannells, Darren Criss, Neil Patrick Harris. And then you've got some wilder cis women playing it, like Lena Hall and Ali Sheedy. I can't think of any really high-profile non-binary performers taking on this role outside of John Cameron Mitchell themselves. since Hedwig is kind of a gender of one, who would be an identifiable kind of person to play Hedwig?
I guess you could probably just cast anyone, which is kind of the beauty of the role. It really doesn't matter if they're a man, a woman, non-binary. It just doesn't matter, really. I guess the only thought would be, how do you do the Tommy part at the end? But I mean, you could just do a wig or something.
Do a binder or something. Yeah.
Well, Lena Hall, famously, there's video of this on YouTube. They have a binded chest for the entire show, and in Midnight Radio goes full topless and rips off the tape from their binder and all that, shows their body, and then goes in. And then disgustingly, if you look at the YouTube thing to the most rewind part, you can figure out which part the creeps are rewinding to.
Good Lord.
I mean, you have to expect that sort of thing.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did alternative theater all through high school. Not high school, college. I've seen so many of my friends' boobs. And from college, it's ridiculous.
I've not seen any of my friends' boobs, and I hope to keep it that way.
Are you sure, Jess?
Are you sure?
Oh, no! No! Both of you! I did ask on Twitter, as just basically getting the vibe out there, do they think Hedwig and the Angry Inch has aged well over the years? Specifically, like, I don't think people are quite interpreting it the way I would. It's a hard show to put on now because the subject matter of the East Berlin kind of Berlin Wall thing is so far in the rearview mirror. And someone boomer age would have to play Hedwig to have it be of that time.
That doesn't make any sense.
That had to be so old.
Okay, can we briefly touch on something?
Yes.
With that. Okay. This is a very radical show as far as like politics, like gender politics and all that sort of thing. So it's strange that it seems to just it's very like
anti-communist,
Red Scare, which is fine. I'm against the Soviet Union. I'm not going to pretend they're good. They're not. It's just it's weird that that's such a point that they're like, damn, communism sucks balls. You would expect like a punk rock show to be like, no, the Soviets suck, but like communism's cool.
It reminds me of that SNL sketch where it's like a punk rocker that Fred Armisen's playing, but he really likes Margaret Thatcher and he keeps singing songs about how much he loves Margaret Thatcher rather than hating her. It's a really old one and it does not have a lot of views on YouTube, but I find it really funny.
It was great, right? He was classic Ian, you know. I thought he was back, you know. But then I listened to the B-side.
Sweet iron lady, I wanna kiss your iron fist. You crushed the Argentinians, you killed a few, they won't be missed. Let's go for a drive. When I'm with you, I feel alive. When we're done, we can privatize our nation's industries.
Well, I think that comes from where John Cameron Mitchell, his parental units. So John Cameron Mitchell's father was a U.S. Army Major General and U.S. Commander of West Berlin from 1984 to 1988. John Cameron Mitchell grew up basically at different army bases, including Germany, during the fall of the Berlin Wall, more or less. So it's
a personal experience thing.
Yeah,
kind of.
And at that time, I mean, things were not good for especially the Soviet-controlled areas that weren't even part of like mainland Russia.
Yeah, like the west side of the wall wasn't as bad as the east side, which was more controlled.
And if you've ever seen something, this is going to sound weird, have either of you seen Bridge of Spies?
No.
Is that Tom Hanks?
Yes.
Yeah, didn't Mark Rylance win an Oscar for that?
Yes, he did. And bold opinion, deserved it.
Okay.
I don't know who else is nominated. So
Paul Giamatti was nominated that year for Big Fat Liar.
Wait, is Paul here?
No, we're not doing that right now.
We're not doing it right now.
But I got too many things to say about Hedwig. But Bridge of Spies shows the horror of being in Germany at that time very well, and how scary it is, and how even for an outsider like Tom Hanks' character, it's dangerous, and he's literally risking
everything to save one extra person, and that's the plot of Bridge of Spies.
God damn.
Damn.
Like, he is trading Mark Rylance, who is their Russian prisoner, for someone who happens to be in Russia for prisoners of war in Russia. But he also wants to get someone locked up in East Berlin away with it. So he's just trying to trick people and letting him get that too. So
wait, isn't trying to save one person also Saving Private Ryan?
Yeah, isn't that just
Is
Saving
that Tom
Private
Hanks
Ryan,
too?
but different?
Yeah, that's Tom Hanks too, but different because Tom Hanks is just a lawyer in Bridge of Spies and he's a soldier.
Wait a second. Isn't trying to save one person also the plot of Toy Story?
Wait a minute.
Wait a second.
Wait, who's the one person he's saving?
The plot of Forrest Gump.
Oh, wait a second.
Wait,
Isn't saving
Is it
one
trying to
person
catch one person the plot of Catch Me If You Can?
Wait a
that's
second.
not the plot of Catch Me If You Can.
Is it trying to save one person the plot of Saving Mr. Banks? That one person is Mr. Banks.
Tom Hanks, we're on to you.
Oh god. So I put on Twitter whether or not Hedwig and the Angry Inch has aged particularly well, and some people have some like really deep thoughts about this. Like, I want to say the CJ stands for Jesus Christ. Said sincere answer, we have to stop casting cis men as Hedwig. Yes, even if they're gay cis men. We've covered that ground so much it's done. It's boring. Give me trans people in trans role, give me death. Which, yeah, I feel like that has not been done a lot.
But I also think it's harder now because we would put a trans person in Hedwig now, which how things are like politics wise, how we discuss this. But with the trans like laws and all these Congress people and Senate people in the Senate focusing on trans people and having their rights stripped, the risk is higher from a financial sense. Like, it's tougher to tell this story, a trans story in general these days, just because people are so anti-trans in a lot of circles.
Look, me
Which is
personally,
ridiculous, by the way.
I wouldn't put this show on today.
Yeah.
Personally.
Why?
I think that we should probably make actual trans stories at this point.
Mm.
And do those.
Yeah.
Until we're through this nightmare of a political state, maybe we don't put on the show where a child is groomed into becoming trans, and then has the operation botched and ruins their life.
I find that fascinating, and I don't even entirely disagree with you. I think maybe it's time to put Hedwig to bed for a tiny bit and maybe reevaluate it in 20 years as a period piece even.
Put the wig back in the box, just for a bit.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like I was too much with, I don't want to call it nostalgia goggles, but love goggles for this show to be any way objective about this show back when we covered it 400 episodes or whatever ago. Truly, I really do think that this has been a large factor in musical theater, a large implant in musical theater, so much that people have not taken to actually analyzing it and distinguishing it. And I know a lot of people find an emotional connection to it. I do too. Like, I 100% do too. But a lot of the things that are being portrayed here, I won't say are uncomfortable or shouldn't be portrayed, but are culturally a little iffy right now at the moment in the year of our Lord 2024.
Things are bad. We are in the midst of a fascist attempted takeover of our government that will be going on later this year. If you think January 6th is the end,
mark your calendars for November.
They're gonna fucking do it again. Like they've basically said they're going to do it again. I don't know if you saw they were interviewing potential candidates to work at the RNC, and they asked them the question, "Do you believe the election was stolen?" as an interview question for them to get hired.
Good Lord. I think we still need to tell trans stories, though. I agree with Andrew on that. We need to tell trans stories right now.
I think new trans stories. The last thing we need on Broadway right now are more heterosexual love stories.
Yes.
And sadly, that's probably all we're going to get, because I do think producers are
Cowards.
Huge cowards. They're all about money.
I'm glad we found that word at the same time, Jess.
We're all synced up now.
I think looking at Broadway currently, it is the most cowardly group of things I've seen in a long time. 2 Great Gatsby musicals coming into the fold at the same time.
God.
Fucking snooze. Great Gatsby is so fucking
It's
boring.
so
I'm
boring.
sorry.
It's so boring. Baz Luhrmann even made it boring. Like,
Um,
that's hard to do.
Like, and then you've got things like things that I think are important. I'm glad. I know we just had one. I think revival of Cabaret is a net good and something important, and I think timely and all that. I know we're kind of sick of revivals and all that, but I like that. But the Who's Tommy, The Outsiders, Stuffs, which is I've heard is great. Nothing feels really that cutting at the moment.
The Notebook.
Yeah, The Notebook. And then you've got things that are in the works, like 13 going on 30, The Devil Wears Prada, more movies becoming musicals. And it makes me really, I hate to say this, but it sound like real doomer like this. It makes me really sad about the art form. It makes me really deeply uncomfortable with the role that this art takes in our culture right now, where it's either jukebox musical, movie, or revival of something your grandparents loved, and that's it.
I don't know why it's like this at the moment. Like, I remember when we first started this show, there was a lot of new stuff, wasn't there?
Yeah, like Great
Like, there was a
Comet was
decent amount.
fascinating.
Great Comet was out. Hades
Come From
Town was
Away.
new. Come From Away. What's going on now? Where's the new shit? And it's got to be the pandemic. It's got to be the pandemic slowed everything down. But
Well, we
I
do
don't
have,
know.
I don't want to sound like we don't have any new shit, because we do have things like Six, which did kind of latch on with the zeitgeist. And I know that we don't hate every movie adaptation. We like the Beetlejuice musical. We liked a lot of things, but then things that are even, I think the last really great Broadway show that we've talked about was A Strange Loop, which all 3 of us saw on Broadway and was truly incredible and
phenomenal.
Phenomenal, yeah. Incredible.
there has been nothing that has touched that since then.
Well, maybe it's time to go to the next segment.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
God, that depressed the fuck out of me, guys. But it is
Yeah.
truly how I'm feeling right about now. It is. I'm not feeling optimistic. But Ben Brantley reviewed this.
Oh,
He-
no.
In 2014, the Neil Patrick Harris revival. This is a truncated little section of Breviews. The title is A Cold War Casualty, Hot for Freedom, and Heels. They're quoted saying, Neil Patrick Harris is in full command of who he is, and most excitingly, who he has become with this performance. This is a bona fide Broadway star, the kind who can rule an audience with a blink of a sequined eyelid. I think Neil Patrick Harris did a great job in this performance. But at the end of the day, I don't think they redefined it much. Like, everyone's kind of doing a John Cameron Mitchell impression, even if you're doing something vastly different. I think maybe 2 or 3 people in the history of Hedwig have kind of put their own stamp on it, but none have really.
I thought he did a good job. I think Neil Patrick Harris did a fine job.
Yeah.
But there definitely wasn't anything that was like, oh my God, that was Neil Patrick Harris. That was his take on it.
Yeah.
That was like unique. I think that it was mostly just, I'm going to perform it and I'm going to perform it well. And that's what happened.
Mhm. I have a job to do, and I'm going to do the job, and I will do it better than most
Which
people.
is fine.
Oh, so
That's-
I found an actor who's non-binary who's played Hedwig.
Who was it?
Mason Alexander Park.
That's-
On the
okay.
U.S. national tour, they played Hedwig.
So weird. Follow me down this rabbit hole. It'll be worth it when we get there. So Hedwig and the Angry Inch. I saw the national tour a few years ago with Ewan Morton as Hedwig.
Who is the father of young Sheldon?
The actor
Really?
who played young Sheldon?
Yeah, the actor who played young Sheldon. I saw his dad perform as Hedwig, and it was interesting.
Yeah, have I said that I love Young Sheldon? It's a great show.
You say that, and it sounds like you're being ironic, but I know you're being so sincere right
You're
now.
being genuine when you say you love young Sheldon.
Oh, well, no, but yes.
Okay, it's okay.
Andrew loves young Sheldon. He brings it up a lot. He watches it at the gym.
I like Young Sheldon in the sense that whenever it's on and Big Bang Theory isn't on, I'm happy.
Okay.
Whereas when Big Bang Theory is on, I'm sad.
I'm sorry. I think the show you're talking about is called Old Sheldon.
Yeah, whenever
Sheldon.
Old Sheldon is playing, I'm like, this sucks. Where's Young Sheldon?
Okay. The Andrew lore I'm learning in these many months.
Andrew Lore Weber.
Andrew lore.
I'm
I have a
done
very
with
similar
Ben
relationship
Brantley.
to Is It Cake, so I totally get it.
I think
I
Ben
love Is
Brantley
It
actually.
Cake, but I don't know why.
Ben Brantley is a fine review here, but he doesn't
Yeah.
really say anything.
Yeah,
You
It's
just kind of
like,
said Neil Patrick Harris was good and he looked good in drag, so like,
That's the entire thing. Like it's fine. He had a good time.
you know, he could have padded for this. Is all I'm saying. He could have worn pads in drag.
Yeah,
Just saying.
yeah.
I actually watched Drag Race, so I can say these things and understand.
Want to do like the fastest letterbox game ever?
Yeah, let's do a quick one.
let's do a
just
quick
like two rounds,
All
something
right.
like that.
Here it is, a speed round. Letterbox 1 star, 5 star. I read real letterbox review. Andrew and Liz have to guess whether they're 1 star or 5 star. All right, Andrew, you're first.
Okay.
Before I dropped out of college, I took a queer cinema elective where I was, as far as I know, the only trans woman. This was the second or third movie we watched, and when we got to Angry Inch, I walked out and never went back.
Interesting.
You know, I can see
Yeah.
that being a real opinion that someone could have.
Yeah.
And it's a divisive show, and I think that's fair. And honestly, I'm actually leaning towards that side of it as myself in a way. But we're gonna go 1 star because I think that this was not a good reason for leaving.
That is correct. Liz,
Yes.
really not the greatest film for me to watch recovering from a mental breakdown because fucking ouch.
Ooh, ouch indeed. That sounds like a depressed person. So I'm gonna go 5.
That is correct. And
What a guess! Wow.
You know, sometimes
Andrew.
you watch movies where you're sad that fuck you up.
I do that too. That's why I watch Eternal Sunshine way too often.
I watch Inside
Andrew,
Llewyn Davis when I'm sad. It's not good for me.
It is not good. We are not healthy
No.
people. Andrew,
Yep.
watched on the telly.
Oh, British.
Oh, that's a fucking 5 star. You watch it on the telly.
British.
You didn't take the implication of it being British, Turf Island. That is a 1 star.
Oh yeah, Turf
Oh.
Island. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Hedwig is kind of invading women's spaces. You know,
J.K.
women-
Rowling would
we
have been
need
a trans person if she grew up in modern politics, right?
yeah, because she was like a
Totally.
tomboy, right? That's
Yeah, she
what
was a
that
tomboy,
means.
so she's like, someone would have transed me.
Yeah,
I'm
J.K.
also a
Rowling?
tomboy. No one transed me.
J.K.
Oh.
Rowling, fly over to America, come to my house, and suck on my asshole.
I concur.
You know,
Bippity boppity boo.
he's gonna let an Expelliarmus right in your mouth. Last one.
Yeah, I'm ready, Jess.
Needs more inches.
Ooh, 5.
That is a 1 star, and that is the game. Let's go into a mid-show.
Wait, who won?
Well, we tied.
Whoever won, we
tied.
lost.
Oh,
You know who won? Not J.K. Rowling.
All right, fine. You want a tiebreaker? I'll give you a tiebreaker.
fine.
Fine, yeah.
Tiebreaker, come on.
Tiebreaker.
My girlfriend loves it. Heart emoji.
1.
5.
Andrew's right, and Andrew won.
Yes. Mm.
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt you in the middle of the show, but we've got a show out to you. Today's show is brought to you by the extremely kind donations by our donors over at Patreon. Andrew, what's Patreon?
Oh, Patreon is where you can go if you want to get extra content, and support us financially. Because we got to keep the show running, and money makes the fucking world go round. But also the extra content is, it can be worth it, I'd say. I mean, Angels in the Outfield. Just watch our Angels in the Outfield. It's so worth it.
While we're here and talking about things that aren't it, do we want to make our announcement, Andrew?
Oh, yeah.
There would have been a separate post about this at this point, but I think it should be in an episode proper and, let people know.
Yeah. It's a pretty major announcement, although, don't take it...
Don't freak out.
Don't take it to be the end of...
Don't
it's
be
not
scared.
the end of the world here.
But after our 300th episode, Musicals with Cheese is going to be undergoing a facelift of sorts, and we will be trying something new. You might call it our demo reel.
We're demo reeling this bitch.
We're demo reeling this podcast.
We are.
I'm gonna be Donnie Dupre.
We are calling everything, all 300 episodes up to this point, a season 1 of sorts, and then we're kind of bringing something new, a new energy, a new kind of gamified version of Musicals with Cheese, where we will still cover musicals, but not only musicals. We will be calling it the Cheese Wheel, and we'll give you some updates, but it'll just be a wholly new thing with a bunch of new stuff, but still very much the same, basically. It'll be the same, but with more.
The real idea is to cover more things that we have a lot of passion for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because when we first started, Jess had a ton of passion to get out about musicals, and 300 episodes later, we've gotten a lot of that out.
Yes.
So now it's Andrew and mine's turn to do the same with our interests.
Where it won't just be me putting the emotional weight and bringing it to them. Everyone will have some emotional weight to bear to this, and it's going to be strictly all of our passions, and we will only cover things really that we have passion, either negative or positive, about. And that's where the patrons will come in, because you guys will also be included, and your passions will be forced upon us just as much. So it has never been a better time to become a patron of our show.
Because now you can
So get
request
ready.
anything.
We'll talk about anything you want.
Yes, it kind of does.
To an
like,
extent.
yeah, to an
Yeah.
extent. We're not going to watch your gay porn. I'm sorry.
No, we're not watching porn. That's
But yeah, the premise of the show will be different. It'll be gamified. It'll be a little bit more random, a little bit more exciting. If you love our Letterboxd reviews, it'll be like that, except expanded. So get excited. Don't get scared. But the people currently supporting our show are Melissa Goldman, Danielle Renix, Jess the Stampede, Ewan Cassidy, Monica Thoreau, Brent Black, Nathaniel Stacey Coombe, Joseph Evans Green, Mary Lou Choquette, John Vanals, Russ Walker, Musical Hell, Emily Gracie, Kyle Summers, Janae C, Scootin' the Technicolor Dreamcoat, Nothing is Certain Except Beth and Taxes, Thespian, Mitchell Young, Chai Teacup, Chris Marcotte, Kiji Marie Anastasio, Trevi Joseph, RJ Noriga, Julia McLennan, Bjorn Hermans, Toriana Frazier, Sammy The Adequate Amount Jacobson, Kaylee Blazier, Villainous Miss, Sophiana Ali, The Omega Geek, Paige Pearson, Maddie Wargle, Care Bear Cub, Elisa Erdman, Annalise Kotova, Sarah Den Blekier, Evan Ball, Zachary Torres, Maura Marasso, Mara Forloin, Lisa L, Possessed Washing Machine, Nick Roten, Puffy Boy, Sydney Hicks, Anna Beal, Billy Clifton, Gold-Plated Kiki Mora, Julia Balls Der Daughter, Hut Mutt Butt, Emma, Sabella, Stang, and Grace. They all give us some financial support that helps us keep the lights on here at Musicals with Cheese. And when we did our first Hedwig episode, we had only 4 of you. Look how you've multiplied since then.
come so far.
Thank you so much for supporting us. I hope you'll support us through our new incarnation of the show, and it'll still very much be the same show. Don't freak out.
We'll still cover Wicked.
Yes, we will still cover Wicked and any other big musical. That's the
We'll
joy
cover
of
the
it.
Joker movie.
Everything will still get covered. It just might be a little different.
We're still going to cover musicals. Jess
Yes.
is still on the show.
Jess is still
No, they're
writing
not
these
going
lists.
away.
He's still going to make us watch musicals.
I will make them watch so many musicals. It's just now Andrew can make me finally watch Happiness.
And we can finally talk about more than just Tiara. Remember Tiara? That's still my favorite episode.
Nobody listened to it except you, so glad to hear it.
It was fucking good, okay? I'm sorry. You guys should all go fucking listen to Tiara. That album is still the shit.
I'm pretty sure we did Tiara like 3 episodes before this one.
Let me check.
I'm pretty sure it was episode 9.
Damn. You just whip that out?
Episode 9 was actually falsettos. Number 10 was Tiara.
All right, let's get back to the show. All right. Tear Me Down. Tear Me Down is a great opening number. It sets up everything that we want, as well. It's just a badass rock song.
Don't you know me? I'm the new Berlin Wall, baby. Try and tear me down. I was born on the other side of a town ripped in two. I made it over the Great Divide. Now I'm coming for you. Enemies and adversaries, they try and tear me down. You want me, baby, I tell you. Try and tear me down.
Like, it sets the ground for all the things we are to expect, as well as a lot of plot. Like, for people that kind of write, like, you know, John Cameron Mitchell writes their section, Stephen Trask writes their section, they come together very, very well. Where you know, like, Hedwig was born in the other side of a town split in two. There is some great lyrical work here, and really energetic, and kind of shows you the kind of show you're expecting. I think it works better on stage than it does in the movie, to be honest.
I feel the same, and honestly, I feel the same about most of the songs. I just feel like things just work better on stage than they do in the movie. I don't know. You say you love the movie.
I do love the movie.
I feel like, from what I remember, the movie was kind of scattershot, and like this feels so much more cohesive.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of what I like about the movie. Like, it is somewhat a 1-to-1 of the stage show, but I think that only incorrect people prefer the movie to the stage show, is my opinion. Like, I like the movie. It's not as good as the stage show, but I still like it.
The earth was still flat, and clouds made of fire, and mountains stretched up to the sky, sometimes higher. Folks roamed the earth like big rolling kegs. They had 2 sets of arms, they had 2 sets of legs, they had 2 faces peering out of one giant head, so they could watch all around them as they talked while they read, and they never knew nothing of love. It was before the origin of love. Yeah, the origin of love.
And then you have something like The Origin of Love, which I think is a perfect I Want song, a perfect I Am song, and probably one of my favorite songs in musical theater history. And every time I listen to it or it comes up on like my shuffle, I will never skip it. What'd you think of it, Liz?
I like this song a lot. I think it's a really good setup for just everything that's to come and why everything's happening. And it makes you Google fucking Greek mythology. And then you go in that rabbit hole.
They mix all the mythologies together because you got Thor, you've got the gods of the Nile, you've got
you got a lot happening here.
Every one of them, and that adds the fairy tale aspect of just remembering what, you know, remembering how your mother told it in might have been different every time.
Yeah, and the mom was also maybe drunk, but that's a different.
Yeah, the mom.
I think this is a great song.
It's a great song.
I think this is probably one of my favorites from here, from the whole show. I think it without this song, you kind of lose any sort of extra meaning you can get from the ending, I would say.
Yeah.
Because this is what sets up the whole like philosophy of Hedwig, and it's explained in a very lyrical way which I don't know. This is like maybe one of the most impressive songs in the show, I think.
I do have a question about you and how you interpret musical theater now compared to when you did on episode 30, Andrew.
Sure.
Do you listen to lyrics more? Like, can you like digest lyrics a little easier than you could like 300 episodes ago?
Probably a little better. I am still not a lyric person, though.
Because, oh God, I one of my biggest regrets of doing this show, and I almost did it like 3 or 4 times, because when we started the show, Sondheim was very much alive. And you and I got into a debate about what makes a song funny, the music or the lyrics. And you say that a song can sound funny, but is not funny. But lyrics can make a song funny, but it won't sound funny. So I really wanted to write to Sondheim, and I was like, how do you make music sound funny? How can you make music a punchline? Because you argued you could do it, and I still am not convinced you can.
You don't think music can sound funny?
I think
No.
it can sound fun. Yeah.
I don't think so.
I think music can sound funny.
Yeah.
I
100%.
Honestly, that is one of the best things I've ever said on the show, because we still bring it up. And I stand by what I said, which is a lot of the stuff that we did early on I can't stand by, but that particular thing, music can sound funny and lyrically not be funny, and they can also lyrically be funny but not sound funny.
When has instrumental ever made you laugh?
Many times, I would say. You can have like percussion hits that are just like in a certain place that just timing wise, it's just like that's humorous. You can have like, obviously you could have just as like a lowbrow sort of like, you could just have like party sound, like the spinning like, and that kind of stuff, like that can be funny. Like you can reference other pieces in inappropriate places and have that be funny.
That's
like,
not
there's
music
a lot
alone.
of ways
That's
to make
context. Well, I guess what's a joke but context?
Yeah.
It's context, but it's only told through music. Like, sure, there's a context, but there's no words that deliver that context. It's just the music itself.
I still don't agree.
Okay.
I'm sure there are other people that can. You bring up Neil Cicierega a lot as someone that does.
I think Neil is he's what I would say is a postmodern musical comedian, because I do think that with his music it's mostly funny because it's referencing the context of how you originally know those songs. If you listen to a Neil song and you've never heard the other songs and you have no idea what they are, it's probably not funny, but it's funny in the sense that it's taking songs that are supposed to be experienced one way, and he's pulling the rug out from under them.
Some people call me the space cowboy.
And he'll do that intentionally a lot of times. Like he'll do like the serious opening to a song and then immediately undercut it with the dumbest sound you've ever heard in your life. Like, you know, it's so like that is a type of musical comedy, I would say. It's not the only type though.
All right. We do kind of have to go back to this show a bit. You think Wig in the Box, per our last episode, is one of the best songs ever.
Suddenly I'm Miss Midwest Midnight Checkout Queen until I head home and I put myself to bed. I look back on where I'm from, look at the woman I've become, and the strangest things seem suddenly routine. I look up for my vermouth on the rocks, the gift wrapped wasted in the box of towering velveteen. I put on some makeup some loving baker and pull the wig down from the shelf. Suddenly I'm misbehaved 1963 until I wake up, then I turn back to myself.
Wig in the Box is very good.
Yeah.
I really like this song. I think I like this song on multiple, because I've listened to this song a lot.
Yeah.
Between these two episodes, because this is the song that I actually like listen to. And I think that I've learned to like it not just as the fun song where everyone sings along, but also as the song where it's like, it is like finding yourself in a way, you know? And it's such a dumb song that the audience is supposed to sing along to, but also it feels like it has meaning to it, you know? Like real meaning to it.
Yes, and it's weird to find something like this in the middle of a show like this. And it's contextually so important. But the thing that kind of makes me confused is she becomes all these people. I become Miss Beehive 1963. I become Miss Farrah Fawcett from TV until they wake up and turn back to themselves. And that is the line that kind of gives the poignancy to it, where it's like, I can be all these things, but at the end, I'm still me, the one that has to take off the wig, which I think leads into the final songs, the Exquisite Corpse to Midnight Radio section really well, where that's them becoming themselves. The wig comes off.
Yeah.
Literally does.
Literally, yeah. No, I think there's also...
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Jess.
No.
Okay. I think also this song is a perfect argument about why people do drag, because people... Stay with me here.
I'm here.
Drag as an art form is something people do to bring out parts of themselves by becoming a different person. They have a drag name, they have a different personality sometimes, they kind of just channel a part of themselves they didn't realize they had. And this show really is someone who, like, it's very similar, like someone with a drag persona finally coming to terms with who they are inside and how those are the same people. That's how I kind of can contextualize this. Very similar to someone who's on Canada's Drag Race 4 recently, which probably not a ton of people have watched because it airs in fucking Canada, but I watched it. That's just I really like the song for that reason, because it shows you can bring out a different part of who you are and be a different person while also retaining your own self-image and becoming more of yourself at the same time. Like, you can be, I don't know, you can be Alaska Thunderfuck 5000, but still be who you are, who you want to be. So
that's fair enough. I mean, I see that side of it, but I mean, it's become almost a non-binary anthem. I've seen
that too,
a lot of people online use it as a calling card for their coming out. Like, I think that using it as that is so wonderful, and part of the good that this show has brought out, despite being so quote unquote punk rock, so a little difficult to swallow sometimes, no pun intended. And then you also have beautiful songs like Wicked Little Town, both versions, but the reprise is truly one of the most haunting, harrowing pieces of music I've ever heard.
Forgive me for I did not know. 'Cause I was just a boy, and you were so much more than any god could ever plan, more than a woman or a man. And now I understand how much I took from you, that when everything starts breaking down, you take the pieces off the ground and show this wicked town something beautiful and new.
I feel like that is the moment where the show takes a left turn and you don't know where it's going, especially seeing it live. Seeing it live and seeing Hedwig just rip everything off of them and all the fog suddenly come up and they are a wholly different person with a different accent, different vibe, different way of holding themselves. And I've seen the show, I think, 3 times live since our original episode. And
I feel like I take it too literally. When I watched it, I took it too literally in the sense that I understood the metaphor and everything they're doing, but I kind of just saw it as like well, this actor has to play the other character too, so obviously you have to take the costume off and play the other character. I don't know.
I guess. I mean, you're thinking it literally. I'm thinking of it metaphorically, which is the two halves in the origin of love coming together as one, and that is why you find your peace is becoming whole, both metaphorically and with yourself.
I mean, I more saw as coming to terms with like a person that you feel wronged you and finding forgiveness, but less finding your other half, you know?
I mean,
somewhere in between you and Andrew. Like
the half imagery is there. I'm not making that up.
Oh no, 100%. You're correct. I just interpreted it that specific way. Like coming to terms with a person that you feel wronged you and that person figuring it out and apologizing. So.
Yeah, you see, man, when I'm in theater, I just take it so non-literally at almost every time, unless I'm watching something like Frozen the Musical, spoilers for next week, where everything is like, well, that's what's happening. So I always try to look for the non-literal interpretation, like A Strange Loop. Everything about that show is almost non-literal.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's the reason why I'm always kind of digging for meaning in this show specifically, especially when it's almost asking you for it with all the imagery. That being said, Midnight Radio, one of the best end songs to a show ever. Cannot say any more nice things about that. So, everyone, what is our overall thoughts on Hedwig and the Angry Inch and our cheese ratings? Liz, why don't you start us off?
Okay. Give me a second.
No worries.
I need to go to the internet.
I believe in you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I enjoy this. I think it has its like flaws, obvious. It has issues with the context of some things, the framing of some things. But like it's a fun-ish show. The music is good. It's hard. This show's hard because like the story itself is kind of problematic, but like when the way it's presented, it's like you don't think about it until you're done, you know? So I enjoyed this, watching it. I think the songs are really good. I definitely listen to them again. And I just think we need to put this away for a decade and then get back to it once like the laws.
A new generation
comes in and trans people can be themselves without being scared for their life, which I hate that is the world we live in now. It irritates the shit out of me. So yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna give this Romader cheese.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Why? Just
because it's German.
Fair enough. Andrew, do you want me to remind you of what your cheese rating was in the first episode?
Yeah, sure.
It was 2-in-1 string cheese.
Is it bad that that's what I was going to give it again?
Really?
No.
Why?
Because it feels fitting.
Okay.
Two characters played by one actor.
I get it. I get it.
Two soulmates meant to be with each other, cheddar and mozzarella.
Fair.
Okay. I have mixed feelings on this show, though I think it's good and I can see why people would like it a lot. I don't know. I'm in a weird place with this one because I don't dislike edgy humor or uncomfortable topics, but this in particular makes me feel very uncomfortable in a way that I don't find funny. And I don't know why that is. And maybe there's some deep examination that needs to be done there, but like specifically early on, the songs Sugar Daddy and Angry Inch both make me just feel very uncomfortable and sad, but like the audience is laughing and I'm like, this is supposed to be funny. I don't get it.
Yeah. I feel like both of them are different forms of coping mechanisms for Hedwig, where Sugar Daddy is kind of overcompensating with humor and Angry Inch is overcompensating with rage, which are two very common things when undergoing trauma. And even John Cameron Mitchell have said, like, this entire show is someone dealing with the trauma responses.
Yeah, because I was going to say that's how I respond to trauma sometimes. Maybe there's something wrong with me.
I get that. But for whatever reason, it really rubs me the wrong way. And I feel like I don't feel as though the rest of the show gives that a proper payoff, because the rest of the show is mostly focused on the relationship between Tommy and Hedwig. So it's just kind of like, here's this incredibly dark shit that we're going to write two like sort of upbeat / joke songs about. And then we're just going to drop that.
I don't think it's
move
dropped.
on to something else.
I don't think it's dropped. I think here's my actual hot take. I think thematically it is brought into that thing because Hedwig started as the victim and now they became the one preying on someone and affecting them.
In which case, the payoff is very not great, because the payoff is that they get with their victim.
I don't think they get together at the end. I do not think Hedwig and Tommy get together in that way.
They become one.
I think less literally. You're thinking of it way too literally.
I mean, the origin of love is that the two people love each other. They separate and they are one, and that's why they love each other. And then at the end, they become one. So the assumption would be they get back together. That's like thematically
I don't think that's
there.
thematically what happens. I think they are a new being at the end. Not in a literal sense. Once again, a victim victimizing others in a never-ending cycle, becoming one.
You have a very strange interpretation of this show that I don't think I agree with.
Okay,
yeah, I don't agree with that either.
That's fine. I
can see the like Hedwig becomes the victim, is a victim and becomes the abuser.
Yeah,
I can see that aspect. The ending kind of just throws a wrench into that, I feel, because it doesn't feel as though there's a payoff to that. I don't know that, and I also just don't think I think some of the jokes I just don't think are funny. Listening to Neil Patrick Harris do a Eastern European accent for an hour isn't really my idea of like comedy. That said, I don't think it's bad, and I think that there's a lot here that is good. So I'm very mixed, like genuinely mixed, not in like a this is okay, like mixed, like it's middling, more like this is like highs and lows that are all over the place, and I don't know what to think. Because some of the stuff is fucking great, and then there's other stuff that I'm just like, I don't know.
I hate to use the movie as an example, and I do remember this animation coming up when I saw the show live. This is how the movie ends visually. So we have this animation right here of the two halves becoming one.
By kissing.
Yeah, they're kissing, they're fucking.
And then they get all mixed up together again, and they come together, and then we see the tattoo that was one half becoming whole on the new Hedwig's final body as they walk out into the world.
But the movie,
I don't know if I take the movie as canon.
But also the movie, Jess, the movie's version of that, I'm pretty sure, is not Hedwig becoming one with Tommy. It's Hedwig becoming one with themselves.
Yes, but in the stage show, the fact that they're played by the same actor makes it seem like they are two halves of the same person.
Look, there's a lot of ways to interpret this, I think, and I don't buy the whatever the fuck you're talking about.
Honestly, say I don't buy it fully.
The song's called The Origin of Love. I think it's about love. That's what it is. Sorry.
Oh, so this is Hedwig's version of mythology, so it's like a loose thing. Like
And as far as the cheese rating goes, I already said I'm very mixed on this. It's all over the place. The highs are high, the lows are low. I don't know what the fuck to think. So I don't know if I liked it or hated it. I have no idea. I'll I'm gonna give it a twist. The string cheese twists that are mozzarella and cheddar mixed together.
Did I already say what my cheese rating was?
No, you didn't say anything. You just went on a rant about the ending.
My cheese rating last time was a slice of cheese cut in half, then put into 2 different fridges so they have to find each other again.
Not even a type of cheese, just a slice of.
Look, our cheese rating system has never made any fucking sense.
That's true. It never makes sense.
You made it up. You created it, sir.
Yes, that's why it doesn't make any sense.
And it will never go away. Let's make that clear. That'll never go away.
Oh, no. We'll always be using cheese to rate things nonsensically.
Yeah, that's...
I love cheese.
I love cheese so much. I didn't eat any tonight, but I wish I did.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. Please follow us on iTunes and Spotify at Musicals to Cheese. We're on Twitter at Cheesy Musicals. We're on Patreon at Musicals to Cheese, Instagram page Musicals to Cheese, YouTube page Musicals to Cheese, Patreon only podcast, Patreon with Cheese. Email us at musicaltheaterlives@gmail.com. Our keeper of the cheese is Juliet Antonio. The origin of love, Juliet. Our show is edited by Andrew DeWolf, and I'm sure he's going to have a lot of fun editing this one. Thank you to the Broadway Podcast Network for having us on the platform. All the research and stuff was put together by our co-host, Liz Eston. Thank you, Liz. All right. Anything else we have left to say before we wrap it up?
As the great Alaska Thunderfuck once said, if you're not wearing wigs, you're not doing drag.
We didn't even talk about Riverdale doing an episode on Hedwig.
Yeah, no, we shouldn't.
Forgive me for I did not know, 'cause I was just a boy, and you were so much more than any god could ever plan, more than a woman or a man. And now I understand how much I took from you, that when everything starts breaking down, you take the pieces off the ground and show this wicked town something beautiful and new.